We're here with Flagler College Athletic Director Jud Damon to look ahead into the 2015-16 athletic year and get his thoughts about the Saints. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us in your office.
I'm happy to have you here. Yeah.
The first question is, what are your hopes for this year from the athletic department as a whole?
Well, a lot of times when that question is asked of people in my position, they only talk in terms of winning or wins and losses or competitive success. My hope is that our athletic department, our athletes and our coaches and all our staff will represent the institution in a first-class manner all the time. In the classroom, will succeed academically, will be deeply involved in the community, in service and just visibility. And I hope that our student athletes have an incredible experience playing whatever their sport is at Flagler College. And in the process of all those things, yes, I hope we win a lot of championships. I do. We're striving to win championships in every sport, and I think we've got a fantastic staff, coaching staff and support staff, and the coaches have done a great job of bringing in talented student athletes this year, and we've got a lot of good returners. Honestly, I expect this to be the best year we've ever had in Division II from a competitive standpoint.
So I will. You skip around. What would you say could make the Saints more competitive in the Peach Belt across the board? Whether it's, I know the men's soccer team was fourth and got to the tournament. The women's soccer team barely missed the tournament. The baseball team had a spectacular season. Women's basketball was right to the end, almost qualified for the PBC tournament. So what would you say are some of the things that the various Saints programs, specifically the fall programs, can do to be more competitive?
Well, the fall, specifically the fall programs, we're expecting and hoping and needing our women's soccer program to take a big step forward this year. Our men's soccer team has been in the top four in the conference every year. In fact, fourth place last year was the worst they've ever finished. Won a couple conference championships and conference tournament championship. Both our cross-country teams have done very well the last several years, and the expectations are pretty high on them. And the volleyball program, we expect a return to excellence with that program this year. We've had some transition here in the last 3 years with that program, but I think Coach Matt Affolder is a superb leader and volleyball coach. There's a lot of enthusiasm with the volleyball team. So I think in the fall, we can hope for and expect some really good steps in the right direction with volleyball and women's soccer. And overall, we do need our basketball programs to improve on their competitiveness, and we need our softball program in the spring to bounce back. They had an off year last year, but typically every year since we've been Division II and in the Peach Belt Conference, we've finished in the top four every year, except fifth one year, and then last year was hopefully an anomaly. We just had a rough year, and we're counting on them to bounce back, for baseball to build on its success from last year. And our tennis teams, we're going to see improvement there too. We've got a very strong incoming class of men's tennis players and women's tennis players. Golf has some rebuilding to do on the women's side. We were number one in the nation last year. Coach has got some excellent recruits coming in on the women's side, and all the guys returning on the men's side.
And the golf, the success of the golf team. I was having a conversation with Coach Kavanaugh, and it led me to just think across the board. There's so many Saints athletes from different countries, whether it's golf, whether it's basketball, whether it's soccer. Just describe the international flavor of the athletic department and how you think that enriches not just solely the athletic department, but the programs, but also the college as a whole, because you could go to a class with someone from Northern Ireland or Germany or Canada or various places from across the globe.
That's a great question, Will. I love the question, because that is one of the many things I think that athletics brings to the culture and climate of a small college campus. We've got these athletes from all over the place, but look at our coaches too. I mean, we've got our men's soccer coach is from Ireland, our women's soccer coach is from England, our golf coach is from Argentina, one of our tennis coaches is from Germany, another one from Chile. I don't know, see if I'm missing any of our international coaches. Well, if you count, if you count Orlando as another country, we've got a couple of coaches from that area. But we've got a lot of diversity, and I think what it does is it enhances the overall experience of the students and the student athletes in particular, and an appreciation for the differences and differences in cultures and the difference in backgrounds from which we all come. It makes it exciting, and we talk about the student athlete experience all the time, and that is a part of it.
In every conversation usually it's not just athletes, you say the term student athletes, and I had a conversation with an athletics official who, there's one program that had a 3.53 cumulative GPA for the entire team last year, which is incredible.
Yes.
And there were, as I was told, 3 or 4 programs that had over a 3.2 grade point average. Just describe, as an athletic director, your sense of pride or accomplishment that Saints athletes are not just handling business in the classroom, but going above and beyond what many college students are producing.
Yeah, well, the student athletes, first of all, deserve all that credit. Yes, I'm very proud of them, but it's all them. They're the ones doing the work. And a small portion of that credit also goes to our coaches, who are properly emphasizing that expectation that we're going to succeed in the classroom, that we're not just going to go to class and try to stay eligible. That's not the goal. We're going to excel, and we're going to learn, and we're going to be active participants in our classrooms. And then Ryan Erlacher, our associate AD, he oversees the academic enhancement programming that we do for student athletes, and he works with Skeeter Key, our director of retention and advising, and the two of them work closely together. They flag students when they might be having some academic difficulty and give them extra help. So there are a lot of people that combine to do that, but it's really an important part of our role. We're not the professors in the classrooms, but the degree to which we emphasize and intentionally hold the students to these high expectations academically, it makes a difference. And I would mention, this past year, all of our student athletes combined had a 3.11 GPA. The GPA of the general overall student body was 2.86. So we are exceeding the general student body in academic achievement. We're exceeding them in graduation rate. We're exceeding the general student body in retention rate. So it's a special group of students, this cohort of student athletes.
Is that a way to get more people to? Is that something, when I say you can bank up, you can market that?
Mm-hmm.
These are people, or these are young men and young women who, they're going to get their, they're going to get their degree.
Yes.
Is that something that the college can really market to this community and to Northeast Florida and further around, that hey, you should come to our matches because you're not just supporting athletes, but you're supporting young people who are going to go back to their communities or wherever they feel like going after college and likely doing some pretty big things?
Yes, I think so. And I think a lot of colleges and universities do try to highlight those exemplary student athletes. In our case, they're almost typical. Almost all of our student athletes are high achievers in the classroom, as well as being obviously highly competitive athletes. I do think it should be a part of, of our marketing strategy. We just need to let people know. And one of the ways we do that is when I'm speaking at various functions around, I like to bring a student athlete with me. And we have for example, our athletics board, our Saints Club advisory board. We had Caitlin Kovac from the women's volleyball team come and speak to the board members. So she got to, as a college student, go speak in front of a board and tell about herself. And she's such an impressive young woman, and there's so many student athletes like that here. I think that can be an important part of particularly in the community, them knowing who our student athletes are.
And going into the community, that leads me to a great question. Recently the college announced that it's going to expand a policy that all St. Johns County residents are going to get into home Saints games and matches and contests for free. Describe the backstory that went into that, and just the response that you've received from the community since that was announced last week.
Well, the response has been tremendous. I was hoping it would be a positive response, but I didn't know it would be so great. It's been, through social media, emails, correspondence, phone calls with me and other people on the staff. It's just been so positive. And I think that's important. I've always been actually a little bit surprised that the community hasn't been more supportive. Not that they were against, but they just, in terms of attendance at games, I've been surprised that there weren't more people coming to the games. And I think I'll take the blame for that I haven't let them know. I haven't told the story enough. Haven't got the word out enough. We try, but maybe we haven't done a great job of it. So now, with this announcement, what it helps to do is bring a little bit of a spotlight on Flagler College and the athletics program. And when that spotlight gets shown on us, I think they'll find that these special student athletes, and it's a special program, and that we do things differently than a lot of places.
In terms of telling the story of Saints athletics, is there a time or a contest or a person within the last year that you just stood back from a distance and said, I am really proud to be the athletic director of the Flagler College Athletics Department? Was there a circumstance where that happened, and just provide the story of what transpired?
Well, the honest answer is it's almost a daily occurrence. I am really proud to be the AD at Flagler College. Sometimes I walk out the door and I pinch myself. I say, I can't believe I get to be in college athletics in St. Augustine, Florida, at Flagler College with all the great people who have been at Flagler for decades and new people too. I just love it. I'm thankful every day. There are individual student athletes and who sometimes jump out at me and say, wow, I'm lucky to know this person and lucky to be affiliated with this person, because they're incredible, and I wish I had their maturity and brains and drive and everything else when I was their age. I mean, Corey Mundy is a great example of an unbelievable high achiever as a cross-country runner, and there are many other examples where the way they've handled themselves makes me say, wow, I'm really proud.
Unfortunately, Corey is, and the beauty of college athletics is you get 4 years to, do some cool things, but, Corey graduated.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
A great ambassador is now, he's no longer an undergrad, he's a degree
He joined our staff today as a volunteer assistant with the cross-country program, so we'll get to have him around for a little bit longer anyway. We're thrilled about that. Before he heads off, he'll probably go off to graduate school next year, but right now we get him for a year. But there are a lot of other great, Caitlin Kovac I mentioned earlier, and many, many others. I don't want to start listing them all because I'll forget somebody, but they're all great.
I can completely understand, because once you go down that path, there's always someone who just, I forgot to mention them.
Yes.
But one thing that is hard to not mention is 5 straight years, Flagler College has won the Sportsmanship Award from the Peach Belt Conference. Just describe the culture that your coaches, your assistants, and the staff of this department has instilled, so that is apparent not just in the games when everyone's watching, but in practice when people are not, and how that has manifested itself over these last years.
I'm really glad you're asking that question, because that's at the heart of why I do what I do, and that brings a lot of purpose to my job every day and to our coaches. We talk about, if you've heard the expression coaching for significance. There's a great book called Coaching for Significance, and it basically means taking what you're doing to a little bit deeper level. It's not simply the wins and losses, but it is the way it came came about for us is when I got here, I spent a lot of time with the staff. We had a retreat and said, okay, who are we? What do we stand for? What are the most important values? What do you think are the most important values, or that you want to be the values of this athletics department? And we spent a lot of time going through all these values and crossing some off and adding some, and it was a year-long process. And then we decided on the 5 core values, or we call them our core covenants of Flagler College athletics, and sportsmanship is one of them. So what we say under sportsmanship, what that looks like is we want to display such good sportsmanship that it is noteworthy to our opponents and to others watching. So when you come to a Flagler College athletic contest, or you watch a practice, or you interact with athletes or coaches, there's going to be something different and appealing about it. Every year I ask our coaches and teams to come up with sportsmanship initiatives so that they're intentionally displaying and doing things that will display great sportsmanship. It's not just happening just by chance. They're intentionally saying, this is a value of ours, we want to make sure we display it and live it out. And so what happens then is, because they're intentional about it, that our teams end up getting recognized with the Conference Team Sportsmanship Awards, and the more of those we win, the better chance we have of being named the Institution of the Year, which somehow we've done it 5 years in a row. I don't know if I didn't ever imagine it could happen like that. It's amazing, and it reflects well on our coaches and our athletes.
And I think of times where, especially the basketball games, where things get so competitive and you're so close to the action as a spectator. And there have been times where whether Bo Clark or Eric Lang Montgomery have the sportsmanship has been so apparent that, in conversations with opponents,
Mm-hmm.
or I've heard officials after matches, after games, the respect is clearly apparent.
Yeah.
And win or lose, and it's.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and it is. It's become a hallmark of our program, and that's happened intentionally. And they're great people. I mean, great coaches who say, "Yeah, that is a value of mine, and that's what I want to be known for." And same with the athletes.
And speaking of coaches, this college has produced a good number of coaches at the high school level around here, but also nationwide. You look at a lot of sports, and some of the better teams in St. Johns County in recent years have been led by Flagler College alums. Is that another way, just like how far athletics can this college's athletics can reach? That the lessons instilled at Flagler are not just a 4-year thing and you're 23 years old. It's like,
right.
I'm through with that. It's something that's carried forward going to
younger
generations.
I would like to think so. I hope so. A great example is I dropped my 8th grade daughter off at Passetti Bay Middle School today, and as I'm driving out, first I waved to Keith Matthews, our assistant men's basketball coach, who's working over at Passetti Bay. And as I turn the corner, I see Jay Willits, principal of Passetti Bay, who's a Flagler College basketball alum, and a pillar of the community. And Paul Abatanozzi is the director of athletics for St. Johns County schools, so the athletic directors at all the high schools kind of have a dotted line reporting relationship to him. And he's a baseball Hall of Famer from Flagler College. The superintendent of schools in St. Johns County is Dr. Joyner, who's on our board of trustees. So he came to speak to our staff just last week, the athletic staff, on the first day of school. This is the kind of great guy Joe Joyner is. On the first day of school for St. Johns County, you can imagine what it's like for a superintendent with 35,000 students going to school. He made time to come over to speak to the Flagler College athletic staff at our staff retreat and share with us about servant leadership and victory with honor and character-based athletics programs. And it was that's just the kind of person he is. So I think that reach of Flagler College into the community via the coaching ranks in the schools and teaching and administration is it's pretty strong.
how within the community going forward?
Well, we this morning had our athletics administration meeting where we kind of I get my team together and we talk about that very thing. What are we going to do? How are we going to reach out to local businesses? So we just in this particular meeting we had this morning, we talked about getting out to all the local businesses nearby and getting our schedule cards out to all of them. We talked about getting into the newsletters of all the schools in the community and getting information about our new ticket policy and what our upcoming games are. We have every one of our teams, every one of our athletes and coaches is involved with community service every year. And usually it's not just a one-time event, it's many events, or it's an ongoing relationship with an organization. So we're constantly doing the best we can to reach out to the community and communicate well.
And a couple more and we will wrap it up, but wanted to get, in your opinion, the state of the Saints heading into the 2015-16 academic and athletic year, what would you say it is?
I've never felt better about it. I'm entering my 7th year at Flagler College, and sometimes in athletics we can get impatient. We want this arena built now. We want this field built now. We want more scholarships now. We want better budgets now. We want more staffing now. And I've learned at Flagler College, it's been, I don't even want to say slow. It's been pretty quick, but it's been steady. Steady growth and a steady pace to get us where we are now. As I enter my 7th year as our AD, I'm really enthusiastic about the state of the athletics program. I was just talking with President Aber about this last week, and talking about the quality of the people on our staff, those that are leading every day and impacting the lives of our student athletes. Just great people who have the interests of the students at heart and care about their welfare and developing them and challenging them and making them better. And from a talent perspective, I just think we have a lot of talent on our teams right now, and we're gonna compete very well this year. I'm not going to be Joe Namath and guarantee a victory in the Super Bowl, but I do feel really good about the competitiveness of most of our programs going into this year.
And a year from now, 5 years from now, where might want to be able to expect this program to be?
Well, we have a lot. We actually have spelled that out pretty clearly internally, of where we want to be from a competitive standpoint, where we want to be in terms of all these other areas that are of high value to us. So the short answer to your question, where do we see us, is we see us impacting the lives of our student athletes in a positive way, and improving, getting better every year in all these areas, getting better with our academic achievement, getting better with our community outreach and involvement, getting better with our competitive success, getting better with the whole student-athlete experience, and getting better with our instructional techniques, our teaching, our coaching, our facilities. We're just constantly trying to be excellent. And it's a war out there. There are facilities wars and there's recruiting wars, and when you're not working on one of these things, your competitors are. And when they have the recruit on campus and they've got one more bell or whistle that you don't have, well, that you might lose a recruit because of that. And that's our lifeline. So I see us being significantly better than we are now, 5 years from now.
And I will wrap it up by asking, what is, heading into this year, what is the thing you're most optimistic about? What are some things that you really, really would like to see from Flagler College athletics this year?
I really would like to see a lot of smiles on the faces of our student athletes, because they've had a great experience and because they've had a championship experience. There's something very special about a championship experience, and I want them to experience that. And I want them. there's all kinds of data about students and student athletes who played on championship teams staying much more closely tied in with their alma maters after they're gone than those that played on losing teams. So I want that's part of it. It's not because it's all about winning, and you've heard me today, it's definitely not all about winning. But what I'd like to see most of all is a lot of smiles on the faces of our student athletes and coaches because they're having a great experience and because they're winning championships.
All right. Well, Mr. Damon, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
My pleasure.
It's an interesting record, and best of luck this season.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Will.
Thanks for having us.